Will Howard's ability to bounce back from mistakes is nothing short of impressive.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Hump Day edition of Locked On Buckeyes, your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. During today's show, we'll dive into our weekly stock watch, discuss how Ohio State can improve, as well as dive into Will Howard's superpower, as I call it, because his ability to bounce back from mistakes is nothing short of impressive, and we saw that very early on in Ohio State's win against Penn State. I understand we're a few days away from that win. It was a monumental win. It could be the turning point in the season, and Ohio State wouldn't have won the game if it wasn't for number 18 remaining poised after the first time he got on the field. Will Howard got out there on the field through a pick six, and that would be very, very, very easy for him to say, I'm going to throw in the white towel. Maybe he won't say it to the coaches or his teammates, but he may, with this play, say, I'm not all the way here. I can't get over this. They got that pick six, man. It made me look foolish. All of a sudden, I just can't bounce back. I can't get into the groove. He could have very easily done that, but Will Howard didn't do that. And it's what you want from Will Howard. You want a quarterback at Ohio State that when mistakes are made, they don't throw in the towel. They don't say, I am done. They don't just continue to play the football, but just kind of go through the motions. No. You want somebody that's a gamer. You want somebody that's leading the troops, that's leading the offense, that's going to realize mistakes are going to be made. We don't have to dwell on them. We can move forward, and you guys can get behind me because I'm going to keep my head level and go right through this gauntlet and do what is needed to lead this team the right way, the way that I need to. That's what you want at Ohio State. And Will Howard did that on Saturday, and that's something we expect from him down the road, is to lead the Buckeyes offense with this poise, with this mindset. Think about the quarterbacks you have seen play football. No matter if it's a quarterback at Ohio State or if it's a quarterback on the Browns, sorry, Browns fans, maybe on the Bengals, whatever your NFL team you're a fan of. Think about the quarterbacks that you have seen play. And all of a sudden, one mistake, maybe it's not their first throw, could be the third throw they have in a series, or maybe it's the first throw of the second half. Whenever that throw is made, it could be a mistake. And a lot of quarterbacks, because we're human, quarterbacks will just fall, just give up, just give in. Why? So much pressure, man. I mean, pressure, a lot of people crack under pressure. Will Howard didn't. Will Howard didn't crack at all. Later on in that game against Penn State, he had that unfortunate fumble on the 3-yard line where he was about to score. Old boy came in, punched that ball out, and when I thought the ball went out of bounds first before going over the pylon, it went over the pylon first before going out of bounds. That right there for Will Howard, that could have been another reason for him to just throw in the towel. He didn't do it. Miss me with, well, Will Howard has this deficiency and Will Howard doesn't have this in his game. Don't nobody care about that. Yes, you want Will Howard to be the most talented quarterback there is, but he doesn't need to be. He doesn't need to be a hero. He just has to stay poised and to manage the game that Chip Kelly wants him to manage. That is it. And he's doing a great job of it so far this year. I mean, so good that I'm still amazed that Will Howard is, I would say, better than advertised. I think it's a safe thing to say that Will Howard is better than advertised. Jeremiah Smith, better than advertised. Maybe Quinshon Judkins, Seth McLaughlin, better than Caleb Downs. They got a lot of guys on this team. Baby, they are better than advertised. The transfers coming in. Oh, we know what you did your previous school. Can you do it in the Scarlet and Gray? Absolutely. They're better than advertised, man. And Will Howard fits that description as a Buckeye player this year. That's a transfer that is better than advertised. His deep ball is getting better. Now it's going to work on the accuracy, but we're seeing more oomph. We're seeing more power with that ball. His ability to get 12 carries over the weekend and to back up against the wall on the 1 yard line when you have 5 minutes left to seal the deal and to seal the win. What does he do? 4 yards on a QB sneak backed up on your own 1 yard line. He is saying, I know that most of the time I am flourishing with my arm. Miss me with that. Don't need it today. I'm going to do it with my legs. Will Howard's the kind of guy Ohio State needs right now, man. Just his mindset. Being able to stay poised in the most abnormal situations is rare. Man, I know when I've been out here doing some stuff and something gets thrown my way, that's an obstacle, it messes me up. It drastically impacts me in such a negative way, and sometimes I can't get over it. There are times out there that I am thinking to myself, I can't get over this hump. I can't get over this hurdle. There is no way in the world that I'm going to be able to do everything I need to do. Why? Because the obstacle's too great. I made a mistake early. I'm not going to try to overcome it. Will Howard wasn't like that. And for people that are out there that say, Will Howard isn't a good quarterback, Will Howard doesn't do this, Will Howard doesn't do that, Will Howard has holes in his game. Okay, cool. That's your mindset. That's your assessment. There's also an assessment about Will Howard that shows he rises to the occasion. He's not afraid to go into hostile environments and to raise his level of play. Saw it against Oregon. Yeah, he made some mistakes. I mean, literally, if he slid a second earlier, 2 seconds, maybe even 3 seconds instead of 1 second, you're probably going to have a shot to kick that field goal, call that timeout, and win the game. That's literally what we're talking about here. And so Will Howard is the kind of guy that you want at Ohio State, but also his poise is contagious. We talked a lot about things being contagious, being caught on like a wildfire, because Ohio State needs that right now. If you're QB1, if you're leader, it has this energy about him, has this charisma, has this mindset that is a little bit different than everybody else. And somebody that comes around him says, bro, why are you so different? Something's a little bit off with you. You're not like everybody else. And if those are the things that are being said, what we're going to be looking at is, well, that energy that he has, or that fire that he has might trickle onto somebody else, might go to somebody else, might go to somebody else. It's just a trickle-down effect. And next thing you're going to know, where there was one person that had a fire, there's now an entire team that has a fire, and they're getting lit because of number 18 and what he's doing on the field. It's very, very easy for Ohio State's offense to be able to stay poised when their leader is staying poised, to keep their mind right when their leader is not fazed by the abnormal situations right in front of them. It's a whole lot easier for you to do that when the guy calling the shots is keeping a level head. And that's what Ohio State's going to need over the next few weeks. Purdue is going to throw some things at them, try to trick them up, really throw the kitchen sink at you because they got to. The week after, Northwestern and Wrigley Field. Same thing. Northwestern's going to try to throw a lot of things at Ohio State to trip them up because they have to. Indiana, they don't have to throw a lot of things at Ohio State. They just want to beat Ohio State. And so when you're going into these abnormal situations where teams are literally throwing things at you because you're their Super Bowl, stay poised, man. Mistakes are going to be made. Will Howard will probably throw another interception. He might fumble. But what can we expect from Will Howard in those moments? For him to keep his cool, for him to not shy away from the moment, for him to realize this is just a small glimpse of what's here. This is just a small glimpse of what is right now in front of us and what we could be in the future. Mistakes are going to be made. It's not the end of the world. What's also not the end of the world is Ohio State season. It's not over. They can improve, and I think it got an easy way. Well, I'll say easy. It's an easy thought. Harder to execute. It's a way for Ohio State to improve throughout the rest of the year. We'll dive into it next. This episode is brought to you by Hims. Your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have the time to go to a doctor's office to get treated for ED. Through Hims, you can get a personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside the door. Hims is changing men's health care by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free trial, start your free online visit today at hims.com/locked on. That's HIMS.com/locked on for your personal ED treatment options. hims.com/locked on. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Thank you all for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. Thanks to everydayers here at Locked On Buckeyes. I really appreciate it. Maybe you're someone that watches on YouTube but occasionally wants to dabble on the Apple or the Spotify and get the audio version of the pod. You can do that 5 days a week as well. If there's a video portion of the show, there's also an audio portion of the show that you could get on demand whenever you want it. One thing we want from Ohio State is for Ohio State to continue to improve. Offensively, defensively, special teams. We all want Ohio State to continue to improve. And one easy way that Ohio State can improve throughout the rest of the year is to execute with more precision. That's an easy thing to say. It's 4 words. It's a whole lot harder to execute and to be more precise. But it's what Ohio State needs to do. Your top 5 in yards per play, your top 5 in yards per play allowed. Offensively and defensively, you're doing a lot of things great. Offensively, you have one of, if not the best receiver in the country. You have an O-line that's getting better. Still hoping that what's going forward, even if Zim Mahalski gets healthy, I think the 5 we saw play against Penn State should be the starting 5 moving forward. If somebody, Shabola or McLaughlin, gets hurt, it comes maybe in Carson Hinzman. He's the only center I think is the backup right now. Austin Serville will go to right guard, but if they have to move Carson Hinzman around, he can do that. But the precision comes in because right now, what Ohio State has right now on offense is good. It's a good foundation from what we saw against Penn State. Because I think you can use that to build upon the performance of the offensive line. But you also have to execute with more precision because you have to continue to establish the run. What Ohio State did early in the year, really till the first half of the Oregon game, was really good on the ground. All of a sudden, second half of the Oregon game and then the Nebraska game, you're looking at an Ohio State team that really struggled to run the ball, and that's not something you want from Ohio State at all. So when it comes to Ohio State being able to alter things to be a better football team, being more precise is there. But that goes for everybody. Footwork on the offensive line, consistent, accurate snaps from Seth McLaughlin, Will Howard's footwork in the mesh point, realizing if it's Quinshawn Judkins versus Trevion Henderson, the mesh point's going to be different. If I'm a tight end, G. Scott Jr., Bennett Christian, Jelani Thurman, who had a big catch on 4th down, but Jelani Thurman, hats off to you for catching that ball because, man, a lot of us, maybe even Ryan Day, thought that ball was not going to be caught. But what we're talking about here with precision, if I'm a tight end, footwork has to be down pat. Pad level, every little minor or even major detail needs to be ironed out because that's what the national championship winning teams do. They iron out the kinks. Now, there may be a kink here or a kink there that may cause you to kind of wonder what is exactly going on. But mainly, if you're more precise with your footwork, with your reads, with your keys, that's going to help your execution. And I know execution is one of those words that we normally talk about with the offense. That goes for the defense too. They're not exempt for this conversation. No matter if it's Cody Simon or Jalen Tuimoloau, Lathan Ransom, Caleb Downs, don't matter who it is. The defense is not exempt in this. Now, for defense, the footwork, staying off at a certain pad level when you get off the line, knowing, hey, he might go ahead. He might actually do something a little bit different. So you're kind of on your P's and Q's. You're kind of on your toes. You're trying to read and react properly. But on defense, a lot of it is eye discipline. One of my I'll say it. One of the things that irks me occasionally with this defense, not all the time, but occasionally, is that for some reason, when it's read option or maybe it's a triple option or whatever it is, some type of option, whoever the man is that has the pitch man or you're supposed to set the edge, for some odd reason, both the defensive end, this place specifically, and the outside backer both crash down to the running back, leaving a clear path and an open lane for the quarterback to go around. That's very confusing. Now, Drew Outler, even on a bad leg, could make that read and get you 5 to 8 yards, which is what he did with a bad knee. But it's very confusing because I know one of the first things, I never played college ball, but one of the first things I learned when I started playing defense in high school, I didn't play defense in middle school at all, honestly. Started playing football when I was in 7th grade. But one of the first things they told us on defense is responsibilities, keys, who has what responsibility on this play. Now, the offense we ran back then at LC, it was a lot of run-heavy offense. Occasionally, you would get some drop backs, throwing the ball through the X or the Z, not the Y normally, but X or Z. But one thing they told us was who has what on defense. If it is a triple option, who has a dive man? Who has the pitch man? Who has the quarterback? These are very elementary things. But one thing I have seen from Ohio State, not so much even from the D end and the linebacker, but sometimes it's just the D end, an immediate crashing down, even though you have outside contain and you're crashing down to the running back, leaving a clear path for the quarterback to go right around you and try to get as many happy yards as he can. That's not what you want. When it comes to being more precision, your footwork, your eye discipline. If there is a running back faking a handoff, but then there's also the threat of the quarterback going around, know who you got. And I said it that way on purpose, and I went through what we did in the middle school because Ohio State's doing the same thing. Different level of football, though. Belzer Middle School, Lawrence Central High School. It's a different area. It's a different thing. But even though it's different, some of the same rules apply to Ohio State, to Tuimoloau, to Sawyer. I say Tuimoloau first because I've seen him numerous times. Now, there was a play against Penn State where it was a read option. I don't think it was a triple option impact or effect called on this play. But there was a play where Aller faked the handoff. Both Tuimoloau and Sonny Styles crashed down to the running back, leaving a wide open hole that a Mack truck should fit through for Drew Aller after faking the handoff. Now, if you want to execute with more precision, that's a part of it. If you're an outside back or if you're a DN and you don't know your responsibility, your defense is going to be really, really hurting. Not just that first drive, but multiple drives in because you're realizing and understanding we might not be doing everything correctly. So going forward for Ohio State, when it comes to executing with more precision, footwork, eye discipline, knowing the checks, knowing the calls, like the initial call, knowing all of those things, and everything else will fall into place. What else will fall into place as well? Where Ohio State fell on the CFP, where we saw from the O-line, a little complaint that I have with college football. All of that will be found in the Stock Watch that's coming up next. This episode is brought to you by ZBiotics. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle through rough mornings after drinking. Y'all, here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. ZBiotics is back with 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No question asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege and use the code lockedoncollege at checkout for 15% off. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I love a place that filters through the fluff for me, that allows me to see great deals in great seats right in front of me, the stuff I've been looking for my whole life in a very simple way. Game Time provides that. They will allow you to get a panoramic view from your seat, and they also got the Game Time ticket coverage as well. All of it is to help you to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Thank you all for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. If you can't tell, I'm a little excited. I'm hyped about this Buckeye football team. I'm hyped about what we saw last week. I'm hyped about what they might do to Purdue. I'll unveil my score prediction for that later in the week. I'm also excited because the Stock Watch is back, baby. And the first guy on my list was the Roy Player of the Week. Stock up on Q. Let's just start saying feed Q, because he came into that game ready to go, eager. He got to start that day. I've been chomping. I've been saying it all year. Start number 1, not number 32. That's not to say number 32 is trash, but number 1 is the guy that's the best guy to start for this Buckeye football team. I know the Buckeyes coaches got a love affair for number 32. They need to get one for number 1 because he's the kind of back that you want to ride all the way to winning a national championship. It's a shade under 100 yards in the game, but let me tell you, his impact was like he had 400 yards, man. He set the tone early. He didn't shy away from anything, shy away from any impact. And it was a thing of beauty to watch that man tote that rock, chirp back at the Nittany Lions over and over and over, shaking his head. Yeah. I don't know what he was saying, but I'm here for it. I want you to bite back a little bit. I want you to bark back. Also, there was even a time I heard that they were trying to take him out. He said, "No, man, leave me in. I want competitors like that on my team. I am not a coach, but if I was, I want guys on the field that want to be there." And that was Q on Saturday. He was a dog, man. Homie was a dog against Penn State. Stock up on the Buckeyes being number 2 in the first college football playoff rankings of the season. Didn't expect it. Honestly, I could have honestly seen Ohio State being in a few situations, in a few areas, the top 5. Let's just go there, 5 through 1. 5 is Texas, 4 Miami, 3 Georgia, 2 Ohio State, 1 Oregon. I will say there are 2 more top 10 teams from the Big Ten. Number 6 is Penn State, and number 8 is Indiana. If Indiana does what I think they're going to do against Michigan this weekend, I think you're probably thinking the same thing. That could legitimately be a top 5 matchup. Now, I don't know the schedules of the other schools to know if they're playing each other. So I don't know all the ins and outs. But you could realistically be looking at a top 5 matchup between Ohio State and Indiana. I never in my life thought that would be a true thing I would say, but the Hoosiers are on a roll. They'll probably be undefeated when they come to the shoe. They have a bye week before that game too, so that really is another reason that kind of irks me. I like the Hoosiers, man. My mom's a grad, but that schedule was, well, it's a tough schedule. It would normally be a tough schedule for Indiana, but this year's a little bit different. Stock up on the offensive line at Ohio State. We've been talking about them. We've been ripping them. We've been talking about Justin Fry. Early in the year, it was, hey, use this as a recruiting tool. That all of a sudden, man, we can't move with the ball. That's it looking good. All of a sudden now, we think we're going in the right direction. And the offensive line from left to right, Donovan Jackson, Carson Hinsman, Seth McLaughlin, Tegra Shabola, Josh Schreier, that unit of 5 got the job done against Penn State in a way that most of us did not expect. And so going forward, this is what you expect. I don't know why Carson Hinzman had waited this long to get on the field consistently. I understand Ryan Day said this week with the absence of Mahalski, they wanted to go with experience in that environment. I understand it. I get it. He's still, I think, one of the top 5 linemen at Ohio State. Even if Josh Simmons were healthy, I still think Carson Hinzman is one of the top 5 offensive linemen at Ohio State. Realistically, top 4. Probably. He is that good. Let's see. Stock down on the playoff format. Ohio State's currently number 2. I don't normally do the if the playoffs started today, but it's going to help you get with great context. So if the playoffs started today, Ohio State will be the 5th seed in the bracket, not the number 2 seed. And you're thinking, wait a minute. If they're the number 2 seed now, but number 5 seed later, what's the difference? It's that they didn't win the conference. And when you don't win your conference, you can't be one of the top 4 teams. That's so weird. I am not going any further with the conversation or the commentary about that, trying to find different words from the dictionary to filter in the space here. I'm not going to do that. All I'm going to say is that's so weird. And whoever put this thing together, shame on you. Shame on you. Because, man, none of this makes sense. If I were to go to a 5th grader, we all know children say the darndest things. I want to be a 5th grader, one of the two. I know what kids do. But if I went to somebody, maybe an adult, and I said, okay, cool, I got this new bracket. Here's 1 through 12. These are the top 12 schools. And then you give them the bracket with those top 12 schools. You're saying, wait a minute. Why is number 2 and number 5 spot on? Why is number 2 in the country, but he's number 5 on the bracket? He ain't with his conference. Who cares? Literally, who cares? We're literally talking about stuff that don't make no sense. Who cares? I care about how many noon kickoffs Ohio State has had this year. Probably going to have one more when Indiana comes to town. Stock down on that. Because, baby, that don't make no sense. None whatsoever. And it's also very confusing that this is what we're doing, man. Noon kickoff for Ohio State. Here's a noon kickoff. Here's a noon kickoff. You get one. You get one. I'm not Oprah, but I'm trying to, do my own Oprah impersonation. You get a card. You get a. You know how it is, man. You get this and you get that. And Ohio State just keeps getting all of these noon kickoffs thrown their way. Oh, it confuses me. It confuses me so much because none of this should actually be happening. But the sport we love is very, 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 very weird. And I hope somebody cleans it up soon. Thank you all for hanging Locked On Buckeyes, your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast. Craig Sheeman puts the Big Ten first when everyone else overlooks it. Find Locked On Big Ten on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes on a hump day. We'll see you next time.